Have you ever thought to yourself that you know that there's something great inside you? You know there's a reason why you're here. You know that you have some kind of a superpower, but you just can't figure it out and you can't unlock it? Sara Byers is joining me on the Finding Better podcast, episode 163. And she's going to talk about her story, her experience, her life, and how she discovered how to unlock all those things that are inside of us and how to let go of all of the limiting beliefs that we've acquired over so many years that are holding us back. The whole idea is to help us live with more joy, more fulfillment, and more connection. And Sara is going to share with us some amazing, amazing things. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share wisdom. And what I mean by wisdom is real life experiences from people who have been there and done that. It's not about theories, it's not about opinions, it's not about academics. It's about real people and learning from real people and their own experiences and how they found better in their own lives. And today, I feel like I have a kindred spirit with me. Sara Byers is all about wholeness, and she's going to take us through her journey. But she says that wholeness is the way. Now, what does that mean? It's about creating a better world from the inside out, starting with us. And just to let you know, Sara's mission is to lighten the burdens that each of us carry so that we can live with more joy, fulfillment, and connection. You talk about finding better. How cool is that? And she's going to share with us her journey. She's a CEO, she's a thought leader, she's a podcast host, and she's a published poet. Very cool. She had an experience in 2020 that upended the way that she viewed the world. And it opened up an entirely new part of herself that she integrated into her everyday life. She's going to tell us about this. And she discovered that this integration of what she calls her whole self became a critical part of her purpose and in encouraging a brighter world. So her mission is to encourage all of us to have a sense of wholeness and encourage each of us to unlock what might be lying in wait, sparking the gifts, and every one of us has them, but sparking the gifts that will not only make our individual lives better, but can change the world. It's time for all of us to rise. How cool is that? Sara, welcome to Finding Better.
Oh, John, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing all of that. I already feel goosebumps and I absolutely agree that we are kindred spirits and I can't imagine being on a better podcast than something that's called Finding Better. So
Yeah,
thank you
thank
for what
you.
you give to the world. Thank you.
Yeah, well, what I'm giving to the world is you. And
Oh,
so thank you for giving me that opportunity. But we taught there's a lot wrapped up in my introduction of you, right? In terms of lightening the burdens that we all carry. We all carry so much burden, whether we know it or not.
Mhm.
And and one of the things that I always tell people is that happiness isn't out there. It's not out there. It's right here. And so when you say, from the world, creating a better world from the inside out. I mean, that's one of the ways that I interpret that. But
Mhm.
tell us about your journey and tell
Mhm.
us about what happened in 2020 that upended your life and your perspective.
Absolutely. So I will start earlier just because of what you were talking about with regard to burdens. Because what's interesting is I think it's an evolution for all of us, and I think it's continuous. It's not like we sort of are like, okay, we finally figured out our burdens, check mark, let's move on. Um,
Yeah, no, that's
because
right.
because I didn't really recognize the burdens that I carried until fairly recently. And they were deep and we all have experiences in childhood that challenge us at times. I had those. But I
Yeah,
would
and
say,
and from
yes,
your childhood, we
yeah.
collect them.
Oh,
We
we
collect them.
do. And then
We
they
collect these
multiply.
burdens. they
Yeah,
multiply and they have babies and all kinds of stuff,
they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
And
do.
then
I
and
mean,
then
it's
and then
really
and then it, and then we start developing these ticks, right? That we don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm
you
sorry. I don't
you've
mean to make light of what you're talking about,
No,
but
you've
yeah.
clearly seen me at my younger age. For me, it was, I don't know. Well, yeah, it's funny. We're going to come back to that actually. How your
Okay.
body shows up, because that is actually, as much as you're joking, that is something over the last few years that I've recognized.
Interesting.
But
Okay.
but I will say that, so when I was 13, I wasn't asked. I thought I had to keep a secret because if I didn't, it would tear my family apart. And what that did, which I really did not recognize until probably 6 years ago when I started to write my life out, and just because I just felt this impetus to do it, that's where my anxiety started. And my anxiety got so severe. I was a perfectionist. I was considered the responsible one in my family. I have one sister who suffered with substance use disorder for about 35 years.
Mm.
And when I went to college planning to be a lawyer, I had represented my state in Washington, D.C. with government and politics. And I had such severe anxiety in college that I couldn't get myself to go to class. And so I dropped out of college after 2 years. And that burden right there really, really chased me. And I'm going to say chase since the age of 20 to probably my mid 40s, late
So
40s.
that burden meaning you dropped out.
So I wasn't, yeah, I dropped out. And it
Sorry to be
wasn't,
so harsh, but you
don't
called
be
it a
harsh. I
burden,
just told
right?
you.
Yeah.
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 Because for me, it was because my identity as a child was wrapped up in being quote unquote smart. And so
And the responsible one.
the responsible
That's
one,
what you said. Yep.
good point, the smart one. And I didn't finish college. So I had just
Ouch.
failed, and it was now going to define my entire life because I wasn't going to be the lawyer that I wanted to be. And I wasn't my future now, which had felt certain for some reason, was uncertain. And so it meant that I had to work really, really hard in my own head. I had to pretend to be something that I did not think I now was. I had to
Okay.
pretend that I was responsible, pretend that I was smart, and pretend that I was capable. So I actually at the time in college, I had worked as a sales associate at the Gap retail store. And I became a manager after I left college and then continued to grow with that company. And I'm so grateful to them. Moved around the country in various roles. But even throughout all of those 12 years I was with the Gap, I really still felt like I was performing in a way. I was trying to be something, and I was awarded. I had leadership excellence awards, and so everything was great. But really, it wasn't. I didn't think it was really me.
It was an act.
It was an act. I
You
thought I
you
was
were
pretending to be a good leader.
and you suffer from imposter syndrome, it sounds like,
Absolutely. Yes,
right?
because I did not finish school. So it was impossible for me to be these things that people said that I was. And interestingly, I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina, actually, and I live in Vermont currently. I grew up in Vermont. And I visited home one summer and felt this magnetic pull to move back. Now, it made absolutely no sense for me to do it. I vacillated. I couldn't decide what to do, but I ended up leaving the Gap, the stock options, taking a 70% pay cut, and moving back to Vermont to join my family's business, the business that my dad started in 1990. So that ended up being the best decision of my life and actually exemplified one of the leaps that I would take because I take leaps that don't make a ton of sense, but I just know that there's something bigger than me calling me. Um,
So let
yeah,
me just interrupt you
let's
there.
please.
Up until this point, up until
Yeah.
this point in your life, you had identified yourself as a high achiever, as
Mhm.
smart, as a responsible one. Then all of a sudden, that came crashing down when you went from "I'm going to be an attorney" to
Yeah.
a
I am at the
college
company.
dropout.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I mean, what? Holy cow, right? I mean,
Mhm.
all of a sudden, what you thought was your identity that you were going to live with for the rest of your life is gone. And not only that, it's 6 feet underground. So now you not only have to start all over again, you got to start from 6 feet below ground level. I'm sharing this because I think a lot of people can relate to this.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everybody, I mean, life's not fair, right?
Yeah.
And and I'm sorry, but shit happens.
Yeah, it
And
does.
we all carry burdens. I think that at some point in time we all suffer from imposter
I
syndrome.
know.
And and part of this is to letting folks who are listening know you're not alone.
Oh my
Whatever you're
gosh.
going through, you're not alone. And Sarah, we're going to continue with Sarah's story.
Hmm.
And you're going to be able to identify with a lot of things
Hmm.
that she says, which is wonderful,
Oh,
wonderful. Because a lot of times it is just the knowledge that you're not alone and you're not the only one suffering from whatever it is you're dealing with.
oh my
And so I
gosh.
just wanted to share that,
Oh, I'm so glad
Sarah.
that you did because it's so true. Because on the outside, no one would have seen any of that. Like,
Yeah,
no
on the
one.
outside, it's like that duck on the water, right? You hear
Yeah.
about the duck on the water. It's swimming
Yes.
across, it's going across the water, and it looks calm and serene, but underneath, the legs
Oh
are
my
going
gosh.
wah, and
Oh,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
wild. And I will say that during those times, so when during that career, my coping mechanism would be alcohol.
Oh,
I did not, I was high achieving in work, incredibly successful, but I had such severe social anxiety. I was great at work, but then I would go home, I would not leave the house, and I would drink to make myself feel calm
oh,
and then start again
okay.
the next day. So I just have this sort of rotating thing. And I didn't, I don't, it was how I coped. And I say that because I think that we all cope with those burdens or our anxiety or the things that we feel inside in a variety of ways. And for me, I thought it was the only way that I could quell to get myself enough energy to do it again. And I so I moved back to Vermont and joined my family's business, which was really hard at the start because my father was like, "You're not going to have a title. Like, I don't care that you've managed multiple stores. I know you're about to move to Houston, and I
Okay,
don't,
thanks, Dad.
it makes no difference to me. Since you don't know how to boil water and you're joining a restaurant, that's what you're going to learn." Um, and that was really hard
You're the
because
newbie.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And I had 12 years of success but it was great because what ended up happening is that I really was able to feel a sense of ownership in a business and make it my own in some ways while honoring the part that my dad played, which
You
was
know what was
amazing.
really cool about that?
Yeah.
Is that you followed it. You
Mm,
followed it. You didn't ignore it. You didn't deny it. You felt it in your heart that you needed to
mhm,
go back to Vermont.
mhm.
And you don't, you know what I mean? I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of us, there's so many of us, especially high achieving people,
Mhm.
and all of us are high achieving people at something,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Um, a lot of us will
Yeah.
ignore those signs, right? But you
Hmm.
followed it. You followed it, which is a message in and of itself,
It really
for
is.
people to understand.
Well, because I remember at that time in North Carolina with my boyfriend, who would soon be and is my husband. He was like, "Yeah, let's do it. Like, we can do." But it was so hard. I would make pros and cons lists. I mean, I would
Sure.
try to create this sort of intellectual exercise. I was trying to intellectualize the decision when really it was my heart that was pulling. And so that tension was never going to subside. And finally, I just had to choose one. And that's where, you're sort of looking for an answer. And to me, I've now learned that my heart usually knows. It knows more than
You
I do.
know, it knows everything.
I know.
It knows everything. I had a guest on who talked about the heart actually having intelligence. The
Yes.
heart
I heard
has
that.
intelligence.
Mhm.
But the thing, and I'm sorry, I just have to share this because
Don't be.
you
Let's
just
go.
nailed it.
Yes.
But I've been in technology for 4 decades. I just retired
Mhm.
two and a half years ago.
Wow.
And so I helped shepherd in 5 or 6 generations of new technology,
Yeah.
from the PC to the internet to social media and so forth and so on. And, through each one, and now I'm probably going to come out of retirement to help shepherd in artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, and there's a punchline to this.
Hmm.
Over the decades of these new technologies, we've gotten smarter and smarter and smarter.
Hmm.
And now here comes artificial intelligence that's going to replace our smarts.
Mm. Hmm.
And I coined a phrase that says we've gotten so smart, we've forgotten our heart.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Really, and
Yes. Oh, I
and
love
and that's
that.
what you're talking about, right? And
Yeah.
that's really the reason for this podcast
Yeah.
is for people to be able to come to a safe place to learn from others who don't
Hmm.
want anything from them and
Yes.
just get
Mm.
reacquainted with their heart,
Totally.
right? And
Yes.
and don't think from up here anymore. Think from your heart. I've got
Yes.
a very dear friend who is about to give a speech in September to the United Nations,
Mm.
and it's all about thinking with love, not
Yeah.
with your brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a renaissance happening right now,
Yes.
and it's being forced upon us
It is.
by,
I
of all things, technology.
See, I totally agree with you. I
Okay,
totally agree
good.
with you. I think that I mean, you know more than me, you're in technology, but I will say I actually chair a college board, which is kind of jumping ahead. But our president actually just spoke at the Aspen Institute, and his talk
Yeah.
was called the sort of how type A and Buddhism go together, which was fascinating. Um,
Okay, that's an
uh,
interesting combination.
right, because it's probably a combination that I now carry, but it's sort of
Nice.
that head and heart in some ways. And I totally agree with you that if AI takes, I've been talking about this actually on our podcast a bit, because to me, if AI starts to replicate or even not even replicate, go beyond the capabilities of our brain, our productivity, our livelihoods, the things that it amplifies the value of all of these other aspects of ourselves. But what can be so hard with what we have both done and what we're doing is that society has to catch up. So society has to catch up to a space where heart is okay. And where we are talking about it. Like, I love that your friend is speaking at the United Nations about love because to me, those of us who are able to have to do this and talk about this so that it gives people license. Because when you're in
Exactly.
the corporate box setting, sometimes it can be difficult. Um,
Well, and taking it a step further,
yeah.
the fact of the matter is, and this that people don't like to hear this, but this is something that is 99% certain in my life, is that in 10 years, our world is going to be completely different. And artificial intelligence and robots are going to do everything we can do ourselves.
Yep.
And so people often ask me, John, what's the future look like? And
Hmm.
I tell them, our future looks like love and connection. That's what our future is. It's our
Hmm.
humanity.
Yes.
It's in a lot of ways, robots are going to replace people, even in
Yes.
relationships.
Yes.
But that pure human, our,
Mm.
our humanity is something nothing is going to be able to replace.
Oh my
And
God.
so helping people like you are,
Mm.
um, rise,
Yeah.
rise, because it's
Rise.
not only neat, I, it's all going to be heart.
Yes, it
It's
is.
all heart.
It
IQ
is.
is going to be replaced by EQ. And to
Yes.
the extent that we can help people along that journey,
Yes.
I think is really, really, really important, which is why I love what you're doing so
Oh,
much.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's interesting and I even think that there may be a space beyond heart that we're going to talk about here too, that I
Cool.
never expected. But when I did move back to Vermont, it was amazing, and I was still running though. I was still being chased by anxiety, and imposter syndrome. But just started to get involved in the community, and I chaired a number of boards. I still do a bit. And would give speeches. I didn't realize at the time that when I would write a speech, I would almost write it in flow, because I wrote my first college commencement speech in 2015, and I wrote it in 15 minutes. Uh, and because I would just feel it, almost in the same way that I would feel that I needed to move back to Vermont, I would feel the words come through. And
Wonderful.
part of those words were what you said in the beginning about happiness, and that happiness is right here if we want it. That was my final point to those students. But those things were all really hard because I knew I hadn't finished college, and I knew that, so that still sat there, and I would share it here and there. And it's interesting. So in 2020, my stepfather had Alzheimer's for 12 years, and he was a lawyer himself, a senator here in Vermont. And he and I had a fine relationship, but there were two strong-willed people, me trying to prove myself and probably
Sure.
projecting some of my insecurities onto that relationship, and him being just a brilliant, strong, passionate advocate for incredible causes. But when he had Alzheimer's, that part of him started to drift away. And what I saw in its place, or what I felt, was spirit. I felt his spirit. I didn't know it at the time, but I would feel magnetized to him. I would be sitting in my office and all of the sudden feel it and need to go visit. I had that pull on the last day that he was to spend at his home. And he was taken to hospice. My mother cared for him for 12 years in the most beautiful way. And we sat there for 12 days. I would drive home because my husband and daughter were at home, and I would drive home at night, go to hospice throughout the day, and I would listen during my drive to the theme music from the from the movie to the Titanic. And that sounds really ominous, but I just wanted to feel it. And then my stepfather Harvey passed away. It was a beautiful moment. And I drove home that night listening to my music. And then I pulled into the road and I was like, I can't listen to this anymore because it's now done. So I need to cap this experience off. And so I pulled up a song on my radio, and I pulled up the Lumineers and their song Ophelia. And that was what was showing on my radio. But it was not the song that started playing from the speakers. That song was Frank Sinatra's My Way. And it said, and now the end is near, so I face the final curtain. And I'm like, okay, wait, it says Lumineers. That's not what's playing.
Weird. Go with it.
And
Go with
I
it.
sat in front of the garage, knowing, feeling the spirit, I didn't know it as spirit then, feeling what I felt from Harvey, and knowing that this was him in some way. Tears streaming down my face. It is blasting in my ears. And I know he is somehow communicating with me. And over the next few weeks, he would come to me in my dreams. One night he came and said, I'm with your mom in the kitchen. And I told her that the next day, and she said, yesterday was the first night I made dinner for myself. And it opened up. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what was happening. I knew it did not really correlate with the intellectualism, the leadership, the business, the corporate, the
The brain.
boards. all of the brain. But I knew I have a certain level of curiosity that I felt the need to explore. So I, became certified in Reiki. I just started to follow different people, read different books. And my mom, who is a scientist, herself during her grieving process read a ton of books on the afterlife and mediumship. And there was this one medium that she felt connected to. And I decided to give her a gift and to set up time with her. And it was this woman had a 7-month waiting list. But on Christmas Eve that year, my mom got on the phone with a medium from Arizona. And the woman said, "There is a gentleman here, and he is singing. Does Frank Sinatra's My Way mean anything to you?"
No, you're a fraud.
And there was no way. There was no way. So that was all that I needed. And I did
Yeah,
need that to completely trust. And so that just started a whole different part of my life. I began soon
wonderful.
thereafter to write words in the middle of the night. I have, and I often don't remember them in the morning. I've written about 3,000 poems that have guided my life over the last 4 years.
Wow.
But it awakened me to a world beyond that which I saw, which meant that any definition that I had previously had of what was possible is now out the window. And that has become, at first, an unsettling, but now a really beautiful space to live in.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. It's hugely beautiful.
Hmm.
And it goes back to what you and I have been talking about, brain and heart, right?
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
you need both,
Hmm.
but you open your heart and it's just amazing what happens, and it's just amazing what you can discover.
Oh my God.
And we and again, I go back to, bringing this back to some level of practicality for the
Yeah, of
folks who can
course.
who are listening is listen, listen, right? I
Yes.
mean, don't just blow off things. I mean, stuff comes at you, and you just go, "Where did that?
Oh
That's
my God.
bullshit." It
It
might not be
totally,
bullshit,
I
right?
know.
And
Yes.
so things happen. Things happen. And whether you call it God or you call it the universe,
Whatever.
it's there. It's there, right?
Right.
And so, j just real quick on this
Yes.
podcast,
Tell
my
me.
daughter took 15 years to finally convince me to start my podcast.
Oh,
And
wow.
I started it in January of last year. And the thing that she told me that just got me,
Mm.
finally, she says, "Dad, you've always said that you would consider it a success if you could help one person, if you can
Oh,
lift one person, you would consider
yes.
it a success." I said,
Oh,
"Yes." She says, "Dad, do your podcast. There are people out there that need to hear what you have to say. Forget the haters, forget your concerns about what people are going to say. Just give it to the universe
yeah.
and
Yeah.
let it have it."
Oh my gosh. What a
And I
beauty.
just went,
Oh,
I can do that. And having done this, it has been the joy of my life.
mm,
And people come up to me and they say, "Hey, I was listening to your podcast," but really the biggest joy in my life is meeting people like you,
oh,
and
yeah.
realizing that I'm not alone, right? I mean, there are cool people who really do care, who really
Yeah.
want to give, who
Yes.
want to give unconditionally without
Yes.
wanting something back,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
And
Yes.
that's what this place is. And so all of a sudden you've had
Mm.
this awakening into this whole new part of life
Yeah.
that you didn't know existed.
Hmm.
What did you do?
I freaked out. No. I kind of did. No,
Yeah.
I mean, sort of.
It's big. It's big.
I had this, and I'm going to say creative because that's the only thing that I can like creative imagination, heart, because I always had heart. So my speeches, I was always known for being super vulnerable. I was always known for, because I would take it in that sort of flow space. So that was fine. But this felt really different. And
It's a different level. It's a
I
different
had to
level.
hide. I'm like, okay, this is just another level that I have to hide. So I've got to hide this now, and I've got to hide the fact that I am not smart enough, capable, all of the things. But it became so big, the feeling, the embodiment, all of it became so big that nothing mattered more than what I knew that I was being called to do. Nothing. I could feel that this was purpose. My purpose was in bringing all of this, all the parts of myself together and letting them be. And that included I'm a college dropout. I'm also the chair of a college board. You know, had social anxiety and couldn't speak to anyone. And I also was the chair of the Vermont Business Roundtable. All of these things I now can feel energy, maybe even from the other side, but I still have a successful business. All, all of that had to come together. And what has surprised me the most, and I hope gives hope to other people, is that as I started to expose these parts of myself, the connections and the relationships that I now have with people are beyond my wildest dreams. Because what surprised me is 95%, maybe even higher, of the number of CEOs I go to lunch, coffee, I'm on the circuit of CEOs and philanthropists who resonate with this. You would be, they all resonate because we all, and I would guess so many of us feel that instinct. We hear trust our gut. We do hear that heart. We hear it. And this just gives it another layer. And I just have felt so blessed by what I see as the collisions of these beautiful energies coming together, just like you and I right now. And the way that I see them is these collisions allow new things to be born. And I just feel like I get to walk around life as this whole person, embodying the gifts that I know I have right now, and see how they move through the world and see how they can combine with someone else's to
and
make beauty.
and make the world better.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's amazing because I feel like the moment that you just shared with us
Mm.
was a moment of acceptance of yourself,
Yeah.
of yourself as a college dropout, of yourself as a CEO, of yourself as an imperfect daughter.
Yes.
With me, I mean, and we all carry that. We all carry that burden,
Hmm.
millions of burdens. We carry
Yes.
burdens we don't even know we're carrying,
Oh, I
right?
know. That's what's
And
shocking.
and I think what you shared as part of your experience is probably could be the hardest thing of all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is accepting you and
Yeah.
loving you for it,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
saying, you know what? I am imperfect. You know what? I have done a lot of bad things. You know what? I've done things I wish I didn't do. But you know what?
Yeah.
All of those burdens that we've carried become who we are. And the question then becomes, what are we going to do with it?
Yes. Yes.
Right? What are we going
Yes.
to do with it?
Totally.
And what you've decided to do is to take those experiences
Yeah.
and lessons and turn them around
Yeah.
and help other people and become just become a light in a very dark
Yeah.
world.
Mm. So beautiful. Thank you. And I will say something that I actually shared this weekend with a friend who was talking about imposter syndrome. I'll share two things because, as you so wisely noted, that could have defined 30 years of my life. And I had a connection with a fellow CEO from the roundtable. And I was at his house and we were talking, and he has daughters. And he was like, I don't understand this imposter syndrome. It makes no sense to me. And I said, I have it. I'm like, I'm the chair of our board. And I still feel like, I'm like, why am I here? Like, does people really know who I don't
Yeah.
understand. I'm not as good as all
If
these other
only they
people,
knew.
but
Yeah.
I'm just gonna suck it up and do it. And he goes, so basically what you're saying, Sarah, you're saying that I'm an idiot. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm like, Scott, you're a lawyer, you're a CEO of an aerospace company. I am certainly not saying you're an idiot. I'm saying I'm an idiot, that I'm not smart enough to really be here. And he goes, no, no, you're saying I'm an idiot. You're saying that all of us around the table are not smart enough to discern who you really are. If you think that you're an imposter, you think none of us can see who you are. We all see you. We've chosen you. And that just upended it for me because I think people can often see us before we see ourselves.
Absolutely.
We talk about body language and tone of voice and, all of that matters. People can feel there are other ways to communicate outside of language and intellectualism. And we really are connecting with each other in different ways. So that was super powerful. And I will also share that, I thought that all of a sudden I would feel worthy. I thought all of a sudden I'm going to get to a space where I feel worthy and I finally feel smart. Spent maybe like 2 years voraciously reading nonfiction. It took away from my life. I would read 3 books a week because I was trying to become smart so I could just finally feel like I had it. And what I've learned is I am actually never going to feel I have it. And that might be a hard thing. I instead trust that I'm where I need to be and that my gifts are what is best suited for this moment. And I've moved to trust, and that has taken the place of needing to feel worthy.
That is a big, big promotion.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's
Hmm.
huge because, I mean, at the beginning of our conversation, we talked about the brain and we talked about the heart and brain intelligence, heart intelligence, and you said that there's another level beyond heart. And that other level in my book, at least in my language, is spirituality.
Yes, it is.
And that's all over. That's all over. That's all. I mean, that connects us in an entirely different level in
Yes.
ways that we don't understand.
No.
And and but it's really interesting because I'll go back to what you said that it all kind of started with your acceptance of yourself
Yeah.
as
And
an
going
imperfect
deep.
person.
Going, I will say that even spirituality to me, and some people may disagree with this, but I think
Mhm.
for me, spirituality is very unique. The more that I dive into myself, so I often think of life as like a clock. It's like we're born these, pure, unencumbered beings. And I say pure not in a good or bad sense, just unencumbered. And then we sort of move around the clock, layer upon layer, stories, narratives, rules, expectations, standards, all of that. So we layer even stuff, material things, we layer it all, and then we get to sort of the midway. And then all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute. And then we spend
What
the other
happened?
side
Yeah,
throwing it off,
all the way.
try, trying
Yep.
to knock it all off until we get back at death at the very place, I think, as we arrived in purity and unencumbered. And
That
so,
is so cool.
yeah.
That is so cool. I had another guest that came and kind of used that same
Oh,
kind of metaphor of,
yes.
when we're born perfect.
Yeah.
And then the world fucks us up, excuse me.
Yes. Yes.
But and you're saying
Totally.
layer upon layer,
Yeah.
and we're taught that, just and this other my other speaker,
Yeah.
she says, just little things like, well, that was stupid. Just
Yeah. Hmm.
little
Hmm.
innocuous, seemingly
Totally.
just comments. We
Yes.
collect that shit, right?
Absolutely.
We put it in our
Yes.
head, and you're never going
Yes.
to amount to anything.
Yes.
Store that,
Yes.
right?
Totally.
And then the good stuff and the bad stuff, we're just layering it, layering it, layering it. We get to some point in our lives, like where you are, where you were, and just said, "What the heck?" Right? What is all this shit? Right? And you start trying to shed it and start
Yes.
getting back. And I think you're absolutely right that the life cycle is starting off perfect and sort of kind of ending up at the end of our journey, having fulfilled our contract with
Yeah.
whatever we needed to
Totally.
fulfill, getting back to who we are, and it's time to go home. And
Absolutely. Exactly. You're like, job well done. Yes.
yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, I never realized it. And it's interesting because the more that I find within myself, which I think is an infinite journey, the more I become connected to everything, the more spiritual I become, the more I connect with the depth of me. And I think that I was like, okay, we're supposed to meditate. So, we're supposed to meditate, exercise. I did, I exercised way too much
Yeah,
to point of
sort of.
injury. I meditated as a check mark. And I was like, okay, I,
Yeah,
I suck at
yeah.
meditating, but okay, okay. And I finally had someone say to me, where do you have spaciousness and solitude? And I was like, oh, I meditate. She's like, no, no, where do you have solitude? And I realized that even in that meditation space, I had been sitting in it, chastising myself for the thoughts that arose. And for me, how I continue to dive deeper and deeper into myself is by literally sitting with myself and just noticing. So we talked about noticing my body, noticing sensations, noticing thoughts without judgment, without anything, just sitting with them
And
and
just noticing them.
just noticing them. Because that's how I've learned about me is just by noticing. And the more, and it's not, I don't need to do it a half an hour a day. I do it when I can, when I feel the call, when I feel the pull, when I feel somewhat disconnected. I sit. And that's where I discovered, looping us back to your joke about ticks, having ticks. I would notice that when a thought would come in that I did not like, my jaw would twitch. I would get a cramp. My leg would twitch. My shoulders would go up. Like I had body cues. And that's where I learned the most about myself. Was because when I started listening and noticing my body, just noticing, I noticed how it would react to certain stimuli that I was creating. And I wouldn't try to get rid of the stimuli. So I wouldn't try to necessarily get rid of you're not smart. I would instead soften into you're not smart. I would just let it come in and let it go. Let it let it
Hmm.
ride through because when I think about life and I think about a lot as flow, so I'm like, it's just moving through. And if we try to stop it, if we try to resist it, it sticks.
And it
It
gets
sticks there.
planted.
Yes, so it's right there. So instead, I just want to watch it and then just let it go. Let it
That
float
is
out.
so cool. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Right? To be able,
Yes.
because when we're in quiet spaces and I suck at meditation too. I think everybody does until they don't. But you've these thoughts will come into my head, and what you said is don't fight them,
Mm-mm.
don't expand upon, just notice them
Mhm.
and just notice them and
Yeah.
just let it go. Keep it
Yeah.
going. I'm gonna try that. That's really
I
cool.
love that. I love
That's
it.
really
Well,
cool.
thank you. I just, it really has given me so much. And because some of those thoughts that come in are your intuitive thoughts. Like some
Right.
of those
Right.
thoughts are thoughts that
Exactly.
you're like, ping, like I'll get business ideas. I'm like, woo. I'm like, oh
Right.
gosh, there needs to be
Exactly.
that app. Um, and so all of it, I love that space. Like I love that space.
And you've
I
learned to
could,
love it.
oh, I've learned to love it because I have no expectations of it. I think it's, the expectations cause a tremendous amount of discomfort because we think we're not doing it right and we're almost anxious about how we're
Yeah.
doing it.
You
Yeah.
start meditating, you try to close your eyes and you try to breathe and you try to do all the things they tell you to do, and all the shit comes into your head. And you go, this ain't working. I'm done. Right. And so,
Right.
and so
Yes.
yeah.
Totally. I
Well,
love it.
yeah. So what can people do? I mean, we talked a little bit about that. I mean, and I've
Mm,
taken some really wonderful snippets, and it's all
mm,
about love. It's
yeah.
all about, and we started this saying happiness isn't out there,
Yeah.
right? And this whole conversation is this right
Hmm.
here, right? It's
Hmm.
in you. And
Yes.
but but in order for us to, one of the things I'm taking from this is I have to accept me. I
Yeah.
have to accept me.
Hmm.
And that is so hard for people to do. One of my favorite songs ever is the late Whitney Houston's Greatest Love of All.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Learning to love yourself, it is the greatest love of all. I would also say it's the hardest love of all
Yes.
because again, it goes back to the burdens that we carry. Little children can love themselves. My,
Yes.
my, um, I can, I'd ask my 5-year-old,
Hmm.
hey, do you love yourself? And I go, yeah, I love myself. And then, but over time, when
Yes.
he becomes a teenager, goes into
Totally.
college, I'm going to ask him that same question. He's going to go, what are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Right. I
Right?
know. Yes.
And
Oh,
it's that acceptance of ourselves because we are burdened with all
yeah.
this bullshit that the world dumps on us.
Yes.
I talked about technology. I mean,
Yeah.
so one of the greatest and worst technologies ever created is social
Mhm.
media,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? And
Both sides.
advertising,
Yes.
right? Because,
Mhm.
I call them messages of inadequacy. I
Yeah.
mean, whether it be in social media or in advertising, I mean, they're saying you can't be happy unless you're using this product, or
Yes.
you look like me. If you don't, you're a
Yeah.
loser.
Yeah.
Layer, layer,
Yes.
layer,
Totally.
right?
Yes. Yes.
And shedding all of that and getting to the point of saying, you know what, that all those
Mhm.
layers, all that bullshit, that doesn't define me.
No.
That
No.
doesn't define me.
Yes.
And at some point in time, I think people get to a level to where they've
Mm.
shed whatever they have, and everybody's unique, where they go, oh, wait a minute, like you did, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a
Yes.
minute, there's something else here.
I mean, and
And
it keeps happening. Like the thing that's amazing is that acceptance, that visibility within oneself keeps expanding. Like that's not a one and done
yeah,
either.
right,
Like
exactly.
it's acceptance, I have a favorite artist that um some might call I've seen him 5 times and I feel him, and that is John Batiste. I don't know if you're familiar with John
Hmm.
Batiste, but
Hmm.
I there's something there and I can't figure out why, and I can't I'm like, I don't understand. I feel like I want to, like his messages often resonate with me. They're similar to mine, and he has this beautiful voice and music. And I'm like, how do I disseminate in that same way? And a friend of mine said something to me last weekend when I was talking about this because I've talked about it for a while. And she said, do you realize that the way that you view John Batiste is the way that we all view you? And I say that because sometimes the best way we can see ourselves is by looking outside of ourselves at the people that we revere, because they hold parts of ourselves. It's almost like a reflection to me. They hold parts of us that we recognize.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And so I say that as another part of acceptance is sometimes we can't even see it. Like sometimes we can't, it's
Yeah,
not
no,
even about
totally.
accepting, we can't even see it. And so it's where do we see beauty? And I would argue that that beauty is a reflection of you. It's being reflected back to you. So
Okay.
trust that that's
So
you. Hmm.
if I'm into Taylor Swift, yes.
Yes. I mean, yes. And I am
No, I'm
too.
sorry.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am.
But
Hello.
right? There are parts. There are
Yes.
parts, right?
Like and that's
And look at that.
people, yeah, people, writers, like they're bringing something
Pets.
out in us. Yes. Like it's they're bringing out parts of ourselves to be reflected back because we can't see ourselves.
That is so cool.
Hmm.
That is
Yeah.
so, so cool.
Hmm.
This podcast, this conversation with you, you know, a lot of times I will, it's very, very clear. Boom, 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 right? I mean, here's the message. This conversation has been really, really deep.
Oh,
And
yeah.
to a certain extent, I mean, we've talked about spirituality
Yeah.
and we've talked about heart and we've talked about coming together and accepting
Hmm.
yourself.
Hmm.
And it's just been amazing. I'll just end with this is that
Hmm.
for the longest time, and to a certain extent, I still live with it. And I think everybody does to some extent, unless you've been able to, not everybody, but there are some exceptional people who've been able to get through it. But I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not blank enough,
Hmm.
right? Here's the thing that I've learned, and the thing that I can, you know, when I start to drift a little bit back into that thinking, um, you're perfect. You were made perfect. We were all made perfect, and we all and the world screws us up.
Yeah.
And the question then becomes, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with that pain you experienced? What are you
Hmm.
going to do with the lessons that you learned? What are you going to do with the failures you've gone through? Right?
Hmm.
What are you going to do with
Absolutely.
it?
Absolutely.
And if you do something with those failures, if you do something with that pain, if you do something with those insecurities that's productive, life becomes so much better because you're not punishing yourself,
Yes.
right? And you're
Yes.
accepting yourself. And
Yes.
so,
Mm,
what an amazing gift.
it really
What an
is.
amazing gift. Last message to my
Mm,
audience.
be who you are. Just be who you are and know that you are. So I say that with all capitals. Every single person has a set of unique gifts that are meant to serve the world. Trust them. You already are. You're already everything. Yeah.
You know, I really believe from the bottom of my heart that all of us have superpowers. All of us have multiple superpowers,
Yes.
but it's this journey to uh, learn what they are
Yeah.
and expose them is
Totally.
part one. And part
Hmm.
two is what are you going to do with those superpowers?
Yes. Yes.
And and you know, be you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna another thing. Just be you,
Yes. Yes. It's so
right?
simple. It's so
Yeah,
simple. It's hard
be
and
you.
simple.
It
Yeah.
is. It
Mhm.
is. My goodness, Sarah, this has been wonderful. This
Thank
has
you.
been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you. God bless you. Thank
Mhm.
you for everything that you're doing and in helping people because when you help people, when you lift others, you lift the world. You
Mm.
really
Thank
do.
you.
And folks, share this. Share this. There are folks out there who that need to hear what Sarah has to say. So please share this and one step at a time. You lift
Mhm.
others, you lift the world. So, with that, everybody, I love you. God bless you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.